nutrition basics for flexx, the foundation. So guys, I did record this earlier when I was doing all the other nutrition videos that follow from this one. I decided to go through those, but then I managed to delete the footage, so I'm recording it the next day. Hence different clothes, different location. Right. So what this is, now first of all, we do offer a nutrition coaching course. This is where we go through about 2 months of building habits, building understanding, step-by-step layering stuff, and then coaching you through implementing it for your own life. If that's something you're interested in, get in touch. But a lot of people will be able to do very well based on what we're talking about here, and then they might find that they don't need anything else. Okay. After this, we have 2 other videos in the flexx studio at the moment. That might get added to more in the future, but at the moment we have a leaning protocol and a bulking protocol. The videos there will teach you how to go more into those, but do not jump the stages in this one to go into those ones. They build on each other. It's much like if you were taking maths and then all of a sudden you just got taught your times tables and they jumped you all the way in to advanced trig. You would be confused as hell and it would not work out for you. You might think you get into the more advanced stuff quicker, but you're not getting there in the right time. Also, I do have notes here as well, guys, so I will be referring to my notes every once in a while to make sure I'm telling you the right thing. But here is simply what we're looking at. First of all, we're looking for health, we're looking for wellness, and then fitness and performance. So there are some things that we're going to recommend and get into based on those things, and here's the 4 things that we're looking at when we define whether or not it's something that we want to be eating to move us towards those goals. It's not that there's good and bad food, there's some that cause some responses and then we don't want certain responses. So this is what we're looking at for nutritional health, for we're looking for longevity and then performance. Okay, so the first thing we're looking for is going to be high nutrient density. Okay, so everyone or most people understand calories. They go, well, this is 100 calories and this is 100 calories, so they're the same. They are the same in the sense that a calorie is simply a unit of measure of energy produced. Okay, when you burn something, when you take something, how much energy does it get out to it? We also measure energy in watts or brake horsepower, all these other sort of measurements that you'll be familiar with, lighting on the different watts, for instance. So a calorie is a unit of measure purely for how much energy does that food produce in the human body. Okay, so when we're talking about 100 calories, we could have a 100 calorie snack pack where there's not a whole lot of real food in there. It doesn't have a lot of nutrient dense calories, but it has 100 calories. Then you have 100 calories over here in an apple, and that apple has nutrients in it. There's more nutrients and vitamins and minerals and all the things in there in the apple than there would be in that snack pack. Okay, so first of all, we'll look for nutrient density, so we offset deficiencies. The second thing we'll look for is reducing inflammation. Inflammation isn't something that happens in the body naturally when we get a response to a stressor. So your body inflames, and it's actually a healing process. When the body gets injured, the area gets bigger, it swells, and then the lymphatic system moves that waste product out if it's working correctly. Then when we use things like anti-inflammatories or icing, we actually delay that process. When we look at inflammation in other ways, we want to have a manageable level of inflammation, so it's actually balancing some things out, so the body's getting the appropriate stress and then recovering. Now, say if you're always sore, if you always feel like hammered shit after a workout, you could have a high inflammation response. Okay, that comes from exercise. It can also come from the programming that you're using. If you're not following the program smartly, if all you're doing is power and strength days and you never throw those other things in, your body's not adapting and recovering the way it should. If you're always stressed at work, if you're not getting enough sleep, all these things will cause responses in there. Alright, so we look at reducing inflammation. Then we look at promoting gut health. The gut is obviously where your body's processing food, and there's things we can put in there which are going to stop it doing its job, and there are going to be things that we can put in there that's going to make it better at doing its job. Okay, so we'll look at high nutrient density, we'll look at reducing inflammation, we'll look at gut health, the microbiome, and then we'll look at improving digestion. Alright? In other words, see if you ain't pooping, chances are something's not quite right with your nutrition. There's some pretty simple measures you can use for a lot of these things in life, guys. If shitting's hard for you, or it takes a long time to clean up, chances are something's wrong with what you're putting in. Right? If you don't wake up happy, hungry and horny, then chances are your life balance is out a little bit and something needs resolving there. Not necessarily nutrition with that last one, but it can be some other things that are going on. So those are the 4 key principles that we use for guiding our nutrition approach. Then from there we look at building a base and then adapting that, but we want to make sure that we do it smart and with science. And what I mean by that is we're not just going to jump from one to the other to the next. We want to make a change, see how long, and give it time to adapt and for your body to change to it, and see how your body's doing. Then if we need to make another change, we'll move on. Again, that's what a lot of that nutrition course is going through. It's doing it step by step. But here is pretty simple approach to what we think about when it comes to nutrition. We basically take foods and we think about the 3 macronutrients: protein, carbs and fats. Protein's the building block for your body to repair. If you're always sore, again, you might not be getting enough protein in there for the muscle to repair from the damage either exercise or injury has caused to it. If you're not getting enough carbohydrates in, then your body's not going to be fueled to do the activity you want it to. It's also most likely not going to be fueled for your body to burn fat the way you want it to. And if you're not getting fat in, then chances are you're not getting the energy source that your brain needs and some other things that go on in the body. We're not getting into super deep nutritional science here. This is like the 30,000 foot, not even the 10,000, the 30,000 foot view of what these things are. But your body needs each of those things. Fat was villainized a while ago. If you eat fat, you'll get fat. It's simply not true. It's eating too much stuff or hyper palatable foods, and those foods that you will naturally eat more of because it's easy to consume a large amount of them rather than getting nutrients in. You're getting a lot of calories but not getting a lot of nutrients, and the response in the human body is not there to actually stop your eating. Okay? So hyperpalatable foods are something that you could sit and very easily eat 1,000, 2,000 calories of in one sitting without even really realising that's what you're doing. Now if you're trying to do that exact same thing with real food, and we say real food as in things that grow or moo or fly or any of those sort of things we're going to talk about in a second with the eat with abandon list that we have, your body naturally stops you from eating because it gets full. The trigger's there to actually stop consuming because you're getting the right amount in, rather than that hyper palatable food which tricks the brain into continually eating and not getting that signal response. Okay, so the first thing we look at, we are going to eat with abandon out of this list of food here, and I'm going to spend some time looking down here to make sure I tell you the right things. When we say eat with abandon, we literally mean your first stage is to eat these foods with abandon. Eat as much as you want, eat until you are full out of this list. And guys, we know fine well that when we say that to people, there's always, but what about the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. Make sure you understand what we're getting at here when this eat with abandon list. It is going to be real food. Okay, so we're going to list some animal products here. Sausage roll or a pie is most likely not got these things in it, or it's got a bunch of other things in there as well. So bear that in mind when you're making some of your choices here. When we're saying real food, chances are you don't get it out of a fast food place or in a pie. Alright, so eat with abandon: meat, fowl, fish, seafood and eggs. Okay, so what we're getting at there is our naturally producing proteins. Meat, obviously the flesh of an animal that walks around on legs. I'll let you take it from there. When it says fowl, we're talking about birds, so chicken, if you like a Cornish game hen, rock on into those things. Turkey, bird-like creatures, right? You understand that one. Fish, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a fish, eat fish. Seafood, again pretty self-explanatory, right? We all know what those things are. And eggs, a lot of people will nut up over eggs going it's bad for this, bad for that. The eggs aren't bad, it is when we get other things out of balance that makes things bad. Okay, so people go, but I don't like seafood. Cool, eat your meat, your fowl and your eggs, but I don't like eggs. Cool, eat meat and fowl and fish if you like it. Eat what you like, don't force yourself to eat something you don't like, but vary what it is you eat. Pretty simple. In other words, if you only eat meat vary around different types of animal. Eat lamb, eat chicken. Chicken's fell. Eat lamb, eat beef, eat pork. Work your way around the things. Try and safeguard yourself against it. If you can eat in all those spectrums, eat in all those spectrums. Also, chances are you're a grown up, and it might be time just to suck it up and try something that you didn't like when you're younger, and try new ways of eating it. Most people will adapt to liking things after about 2 weeks of trying it. It's going to be up to you. It's dependent on what you want to buy in with your health and goals. It's a pretty simple process. Okay, so that's our proteins, eat with abandon. Then we get into our carbohydrates, eat with abandon. And this is where some people get a little bit off, because when we say carbs, they think of pastas and breads. Okay, vegetables, roots, tubers, bulbs, herbs and spices. Right. So basically what we're saying there is, see if it grows naturally. If you could plant it, if you had a garden or an allotment, if you could plant it and grow it, eat it. Now you can plant and grow potatoes, they're covered in there, right? Don't kick it to death. What I mean by that is, you shouldn't be having potatoes every meal of the day. Again, just like the meats, you want to vary, you want to try and eat with the rainbow when it comes to your fruit and veg and all those other things that are in there. But you'll notice that fruit is not in the eat with abandon category. Okay, vegetables are. So we have vegetables, we have roots, tubers, bulbs, herbs and spices. That's our eat with abandon carbohydrate source. Now for the fat source, we have animal fats, we have olives and olive oils, avocados and avocado oil, we have coconut, meat and oil and flour, and then dairy if your body can adapt to it or deal with it. Okay, those are pretty simple. They're not man-made fats, they're not manufactured fats. They are ones that if you wanted to, you could make in your kitchen. Eat with abandon with those things. This will help you with a lot of autoimmune diseases. It'll help you with your performance. Bear in mind though, with some autoimmune diseases, dairy and the stuff might not be good for you unless it's grain fed over grass fed. That's going to be something for you to try. Alright, things like heavy cream, butter and ghee shouldn't be that much of a problem for you, but milk might be. So again, 99% of the time you're going to be okay. You might need a little bit of experimentation individually. Occasionally getting cheese and yogurt and stuff in there is perfectly fine, but experiment with it and see how you do with it. Okay? Eat with abandon. Eat as much as you want. You're going to limit nuts, seeds, fruit, oats and white rice. So when we say limit, this is 1 to 2 servings of each of these per day. Okay? So nuts, bear in mind peanuts are not nuts, they're legumes, so we're talking about things like hazelnuts, almonds, macadamia nuts, cashews, that sort of thing. Seeds are generally pretty rich sources of nutrients that you don't get through other things, but the reason why we're saying with these limit is that they are very calorie dense. For what you could very easily sit down with a pack of cashews and eat that entire packet. Right? It's very easy to do because there's not many of them for getting your caloric intake in there. Okay. Oats and white rice really are going to come down to whether you can tolerate them. They're not bad in the right amount, but don't be again kicking the arse out of it. 1 to 2 servings per day. You might want to limit your oats and your rice to 1 serving per day. If you're having potatoes, you might want to avoid the oats and the rice the day you're having potatoes. It's going to be up to you with those things. Okay. And then the avoid list, this is the one that no one likes because it's avoid wheat, barley, rye, soy, legumes, veggie and nut and seed oils. In other words, if the oil is made from vegetables, nuts or seeds, so sunflower oil, vegetable oil, these are things, avoid them. Okay. Rapeseed oil, avoid it. You want to get that from animal fats or olive. Bear in mind if you're cooking it, depending on the temperature it's getting to, the olive oil can cause a problem. So animal fats would be better for you for the cooking side of things. When we say legumes, soy, this is where some people are going to nut up because because that's going to be the mainstay of certain diet styles. Again, bear in mind what we're looking at with those 4 guidelines. We're looking at nutrient density, we're looking at inflammation response, we're looking at gut health, we're looking at digestion. Those things cause problems when we come to those areas, so that's why we want to avoid them. And then the wheat, the barley and the rye, again. So you guys can most likely figure out what that takes out of your diet or you're trying to avoid. Okay. and it's pretty simple. Get into the habit of building yourself towards eating as much of the abandoned and limit stuff. Now it could take you 4 or 5 weeks to get to where you don't want to pull stuff out and not have stuff added in. So what we generally recommend is this: don't pull out your avoid list right away. Don't pull out your limitless list right away. Add in the eat with abandon. Eat more of the eat with abandon. Then start pulling things back, right? And eat more of the eat with abandon and pull back. Eat more of the eat with abandon, pull back until you're taking it out. Like I said, that could take some people 3 months to get through it. If you're already heavily eating in the limit and the avoid list, and you're not eating much in that abandon list, then you're going to take some time to work through this. But once you get to that, where 80% of the time you're eating off the eat with abandon list, the limit list and the avoid list, occasional things coming in, occasional slice of pizza coming in, occasional piece of bread's coming in, occasional treats coming in, like wanting a balanced life. Eat like that for a month and track and see how you're doing. How well are you moving? How well are you feeling? What's your weight doing? What's your body fat doing? And how's your sleep? Right? And you might find that that's all the changes you need to make. You've suddenly went from eating a highly processed diet to eating real food. You are healthier and your immune system is a lot better. Happy days. But if we're not where we want to be, we're now going to start thinking about reining the amounts of those things in. You're going to get an app very similar to MyFitnessPal or whatever you wish to use. We don't get paid for any of that stuff, right? But MyFitnessPal generally does well, especially when you're eating like this. There's a large variance when you're eating processed foods, but when you're eating stuff like this, it is very good at tracking the content of what you're using. You're going to get MyFitnessPal. You're not going to care about the amount of calories it says for you to have. You're going to care about your macro percentage. You're going to get an even split across those macros, so it might be 30, 35, 35, right? Because it won't let you put 33% in for any of those. But you kind of want to be close to that 33% for each macro. You're going to rein yourself in. You might need to eat more fat, eat less protein, that sort of thing, to get that ratio into where you want it to be. And then you're going to sit at that ratio for a month. Right? Once you're at that ratio, then log a month. Are you where you want to be? How's your mood? How are you moving? How are you feeling? How are you sleeping? How are you performing? If you're now moving in the right direction and where you want to be, keep it on. Work that and wring everything you can get out of that very simple guidelines before you move on to the other protocols that we have. Okay. So the other protocols that we have a bulking protocol where if you're trying to increase, we have a leaning protocol, whereas if you're trying to decrease size or fat, any of those sort of things, and then there'd be a maintenance protocol where you're more focused on performance over, you're now going to maybe sacrifice some health stuff to move that performance along to where you want it to be. But that is our framework, that's the basics of it. Most of you will not need to go off of this video to the other ones. If you need help with this, remember we have that coaching course which is systematic to build you up and move you through that process. Get after it.